Cardboard drones. Sounds like a joke, right? Yet, these unassuming creations have become a nightmare for Russian forces, capable of obliterating jets and turning the tide in modern warfare. How did something so simple become so deadly? Putin's plans for an easy victory in Ukraine were shattered by a new era of warfare. His pride in a supposedly modernized military and an impressive tank fleet couldn't withstand the relentless onslaught of large and small drones, transforming many of those tanks into smoldering ruins. Despite their experience from the Armenia-Azerbaijani conflict, the Russian invaders were woefully unprepared for the drone warfare they faced. By the second half of 2023, Russia sought to dominate the drone warfare arena, making significant strides. But in early 2024, Ukraine reclaimed its lead, refusing to rest on its laurels. With their nation's survival at stake, Ukrainians pushed innovation to its limits in the drone race. One of their groundbreaking innovations? The easily concealable cardboard drone. Dismissed by some as a mere gimmick, this drone has proven lethal, downing Russian jets and redefining combat strategies. Curious about how a cardboard drone, nicknamed the origami of death, could wield such power? Let's explore its design, operational use, and its profound implications for the future of drone warfare. As a preview for what this origami of death can do, it might be best to look at the words of one of Russia's military bloggers, who was writing in August 2023, shortly after $100 million worth of aircraft went up in smoke to a Ukrainian drone attack. Tonight, Ukrainians use them in a swarm, mixing drones with warheads with empty drones. I don't know exactly what engines were on the drones, but if they were electric-powered, then they were not launched from Ukraine. But these drones were indeed launched from Ukraine. What model actually caused such damage? The drone in question is called the Corvo Precision Payload Delivery System (PPDS), manufactured by an Australian company called SpyPack Systems in cooperation with the Australian Army. Australia has been a steady supporter of Ukraine in its resistance against Russian aggression, delivering a total of $960 million worth of aid in the first 2 years of the war. This aid has involved counter-drone systems like the Slinger kinetic defense system, which is designed to detect and shoot down fast-moving small drones. But the Australians are helping Ukraine in offensive aspects of drone warfare as well. In July 2022, the Australian government launched an initiative to supply Ukraine with the PPDS drone. The initiative was part of a $1.1 million contract, and SpyPack has been exporting the PPDS to Ukraine since March 2023, when the drone was revealed at the Avalon Air Show. SpyPack is shipping the units to Ukraine at a rate of at least 100 per month. Supplying Ukraine with the PPDS is SpyPack's only focus for that market, which is an indication of its success there. The company sells these drones in pizza box-sized containers that can carry 24 at a time. When they arrive in Ukraine, PPDS drones are stacked and flat-packed, an arrangement which makes them easy and efficient to deliver. 24 of the drones can come in one package. They are then assembled using rubber bands. The drones come with personalized launchers. These are small catapults that propel the PPDS into the sky. If no launcher is available, someone can throw it into the air. The company is understandably secretive about the material the PPDS is made from, but it seems that the drone isn't actually made of common cardboard, but rather a wax-coated foam board. It's also easily repairable because damaged parts can be replaced. For example, if the drone's nose cone gets hit, the operators can replace it with a spare. The drone can also be repaired with common tools like hot glue gun and tape, making them durable and easy to call upon in lean times. SpyPack says that the PPDS is designed for covert delivery, and perhaps more than any other drone on the market, the origami of death is well suited for such operations. It's designed to be stealthier than a normal drone. First, the PPDS has a size which helps to enhance its stealth profile. The central portion is about as big as a shoebox, while the wingspan is about 6.5 feet. More importantly, since the drone is made of a waxy cardboard-like substance, it's transparent to radar. The rise of stealth drones has been another innovation in UAV warfare since the conflict started. Toward the end of 2023, Russia began coloring some of its Shahid drones black to make them less visible to the eye. This coating was not just paint, but rather a specialized material to reduce visibility to radar. The Ukrainians and their Australian partners have taken this to another level with the PPDS. The drone is not completely stealthy because its electronic components, like the battery, can be detected. Nevertheless, it has a lower cross-section to radar thanks to its design and materials. The drone's operator controls the UAV through a specialized Android tablet that comes with the packaging. The PPDS can also fly autonomously if need be. It uses GPS guidance, but is resistant to jamming, because in the event the GPS goes down, the PPDS has control software that can calculate its location using the information from the drone's speed and trajectory. According to SpyPack's chief engineer Ross Osborne, the PPDS can also take weather conditions into account when deciding its flight path, landing pattern, and approach. The wax coating ensures that these drones can continue operating in damp conditions, maritime environments, and even rain, assuming it's not raining cats and dogs outside. When not attacking, the drone is designed to be reused. A single PPDS drone can be reused up to 60 times for reconnaissance and surveillance missions. The material the PPDS is made of also makes it more resistant to jamming than traditional drones. At a time when both sides of the war are recognizing the importance of jamming, the PPDS might prove more important in the next phase of the conflict and for the future of drone warfare as a whole. We'll discuss this more in detail later. For now, you might be wondering, why would someone come up with the idea for a so-called cardboard drone to begin with? Why was the PPDS conceived in the first place? The PPDS was originally designed for reconnaissance and to carry supplies to frontline positions. The drone weighs 5.3 pounds when empty and can carry a payload of 6.6 pounds. The payload bay has a cover that flips up to ensure the ease of retrieval by the receiver. It's propeller-driven and can reach speeds of 37 miles per hour. The PPDS has a reported range of 75 miles. However, as we'll soon see, there is good reason to think these drones can far exceed that distance, and this reveals the first clue about the need for a cardboard drone. The PPDS's design gives it a great advantage in range over the typical rotor-based small drones that Ukraine's pilots have long favored. This is because of its light weight and fixed wing configuration. There's less drag, greater energy efficiency, and the wings generate the lift. The PPDS can fly at higher altitudes than rotor drones as well, which can add to its ability to surprise the enemy. The PPDS can land within 2 meters of its intended destination. For surveillance, the original PPDS drone came with a camera placed within the top of its nose, just above the propeller. Aside from covert delivery and surveillance, low cost is one of the things SpyPack prioritized with this drone, and the second major reason why it chose such an unusual base material. The unit price is not available on SpyPack's website but reportedly ranges from between $670 to $3,350. Some of Ukraine's FPV drones are cheaper than this, but what makes the PPDS interesting from an economic standpoint is that it's considered a military-grade drone, according to Michael Partridge, a representative from the company. Other higher-end military-grade drones like the Shahid cost in the range of tens of thousands of dollars or more. Other military-grade drones, like the American MQ-9 Reaper, cost $30 million. Thanks to its design and construction, the PPDS drone can deliver military uses for much cheaper prices. It won't be nearly as powerful as a Shahid or a Reaper, but the low price doesn't mean this drone is ineffective. The Ukrainians have since weaponized it and turned it into an effective kamikaze drone. They began using the PPDS to attack Russian targets in June 2023, only 3 months after their initial arrival. Payloads can be of various forms of explosives, including cluster-type munitions. One Ukrainian test captured on video saw an airburst above a target that rained fragments over a broader area. This munition makes it a particularly good anti-personnel weapon, but it certainly has many anti-material uses as well, a fact which was proven in late August 2023. One of the drone's more notable feats came on August 27th, when Ukraine used the PPDS against an airbase at the historically significant site of Kursk, deep within Russian territory. Ukrainian sources reported that the strike hit a MiG-29 fighter jet and 4 Su-30 aircraft. The drones also damaged 2 Pantsir missile launchers and part of an S-300 air defense system. The governor of the Kursk area, Roman Starovoyt, claimed that an apartment block has also been damaged in the drone attack. Russian sources later confirmed that the drones that hit the Kursk airfield were designed like aircraft, which would suggest that they were indeed Ukraine's origami of death. Never content to rest on their laurels, Ukraine's drone pilots used the PPDS again on the 29th, striking another airbase in Pskov, 450 miles into Russian territory. 2 Russian cargo planes were destroyed in the attack and another 2 were damaged. The attack on Pskov was part of a broader drone wave attack between the 28th and 30th, which targeted 9 Russian regions, including Moscow. The PPDS might be the so-called cardboard drone and carry less of a payload than other military-grade drones, but it still forced the Russians to disperse their remaining aircraft off their runways in the aftermath of the attacks. Comically, images taken following these incidents showed the Russians resorting to putting stacks of tires on their aircraft to prevent them from taking damage from future drone strikes. Maybe the Russians think of them as an improvised, low-cost version of the cope cage. Less dramatically, the Ukrainians have used PPDS for its intended purpose of surveillance and resupply missions. It's an ideal system to deliver ammunition to hard-pressed troops on the front line, for example, where traditional methods could prove vulnerable to enemy fire. These drones are much harder to target and ideally suited for carrying small arms, magazines of ammunition, mortar rounds, medical supplies, communications equipment, spare parts, and other essentials for infantry squads that often get overlooked. Partridge mentioned that the PPDS is designed for a blood bag. By using the drones to deliver these lighter supplies to hard-pressed troops, Ukraine does not need to risk the destruction of more expensive and valuable military vehicles that cost a lot more money and can carry heavier equipment. The aforementioned attributes are not the final ones for the PPDS. Spypack is improving the drone based on feedback from its Ukrainian operators. A high-profile Ukrainian delegation, including Kyiv's ambassador to Australia, made a visit to Spypack in early 2023, shortly after the drones began arriving. The ambassador, Vasyl Maryshenko, was full of praise for the cardboard drone. "It looks like something that kids would play with, but when you see what it can do, it's really amazing. They've been very good at inflicting lots of damage on the enemy." The company itself suggests that the PPDS is still in development. Initial trials had to be halted thanks to the disruption brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. Initially, there was some interest in the PPDS among Middle Eastern countries, which wanted to use it as a cheap way of carrying weapons. However, the Ukrainians have obviously used it in far more complicated missions. The dialogue between the Ukrainian armed forces and Spypack has provided significant feedback, and the company is using it to improve the mission planning system, user interface, and ground control station, not just for the PPDS, but the entire line of Corvo drones. Partridge spoke about this collaboration with Defense News. The Ukrainians are using it in certain ways. The most effective way we're hearing about is they're literally cutting holes in the bottom and putting GoPros on 10-second timers. They've got active imagery that's 30 minutes old for a very cost-effective way of doing that. For reconnaissance and resupply missions, the GoPro cameras take these 10-second clips at the moment the drone reaches the turnaround point pre-programmed into the GPS. The Ukrainians' innovation with the GoPro cameras has added another stealthy quality to the PPDS. The quick flight and turnaround with the footage at the appropriate spot ensures there is no data link streaming the footage back to a command post. There is also no link required to give the PPDS its flight instructions. Although the lack of these data links mean that footage will not be live, it's much better for operational security, and things will most likely remain the same within 30 minutes, especially since these drones are hard to detect through visual methods or through radar in the first place. Ukraine used these methods to get accurate information about Russian positions in preparation for retaking territory in Zaporizhia. Although Ukraine failed in this offensive campaign, it still pierced the first two of Russia's defensive lines and inflicted more casualties on Russian forces, despite the latter being on the defensive. Accurate information about Russian positions was likely critical in the limited success that it had, especially when it came to neutralizing Russian tanks and artillery positions. Accurate information about Russian movements has also proven important in defensive operations, as it's permitted Ukraine to inflict heavy casualties on enemy forces in their westward drives, assisting in the war of attrition. In September 2023, Spypack released a new version of the PPDS with a longer wingspan and higher payload at 6 kilograms or 13.2 pounds. Although these new versions are easier for the eye to detect and likely to shoot down due to their larger size, the trade-off is that they can carry more supplies for troops on the front line or, more dramatically, more powerful explosives, all while being still made of the same cardboard-like material that reduces their visibility to radar and resistance to enemy jammers. The latter is an important point because Russia has begun to signal its intention of adapting its tanks to the new reality of drone warfare. Russia has lost thousands of tanks since the war started, and Ukraine's drones are one of the biggest reasons why. Russia understands the danger its armored units are in now though, which is why in early 2024, it began rolling out a new variant of its T-72 tank. Ukrainian soldiers identified this variant as the Tsar-EW, electronic warfare, because of the jammers it sported on its frame. These are designed to interfere with the signals of incoming drones and, in theory, should work much better than the cope cages. Ukrainian troops were understandably concerned when they began identifying these. Ukrainian soldiers then captured one of these units in April and laughably found that the jammers didn't work because they were assembled in a hasty slapdash fashion. The antennas might have been made in a factory, but the assembly left something to be desired. They were jumbled together with rope and placed hastily on wooden pallets. The result was that the Tsar-EW tank that made Ukraine's drone pilots so nervous was revealed as more of a gimmick than a genuine threat, not much better than a cope cage. For the moment, Russian tanks remain as vulnerable to drones as they have been. Russia's other units are also lacking when it comes to electronic drone countermeasures. Many of the jammers Russia needs to protect its infantry units on the line do not work. One popular jammer, a 2400 model promoted by the popular Two Majors Telegram channel, does not seem to be effective for several reasons. First, its antenna are pointed directly up, when most drones come in from the side, which means it loses most of its effectiveness. The jammer also has an inadequate cooling system, which consists of a single fan bolted to the interior of a plastic case. There is inadequate ventilation for the fan to draw in cooler air and expel hot air because of this design. The jammer is so hot that it can't be touched, and interior electronic components begin to melt, making it even less effective in countering enemy drones. So in protecting its tanks and infantry or artillery formations from Ukrainian UAVs, Russia is still lagging. Its electronic warfare systems are not up to the task. To make matters worse, there has been little communication between Russia's drone pilots and electronic warfare units, resulting in many of Russia's drones being downed by their own jammers. This was one of the reasons why Russia suffered so many casualties in the Battle of Avdiivka. However, Ukraine cannot count on such incompetence continuing forever. Russia has proven surprisingly resilient in learning from its mistakes and adapting on the battlefield. This was one of the major reasons why the Ukrainians' 2023 offensive failed to replicate the success of the year before. It's reasonable to assume that the Russians will improve on their electronic warfare measures if given enough time. This is where the PPDS comes in. The cardboard drone gives Ukraine more options to adapt in the face of improvements to Russia's electronic warfare capabilities. Future PPDS units being able to carry heavier payloads will also come in handy, since more powerful explosives will give Ukraine a better chance of destroying enemy tanks. Ukraine has also made it a priority to target Russian supply vehicles in the conflict to undermine enemy logistics. Using the PPDS in the face of improved jammers gives Ukraine another means of continuing with that mission. In December 2023, President Zelensky made the construction of at least 1 million small drones in 2024 one of his government's highest priorities. Ukraine was on track to surpass that total early. The PPDS might only make up a small portion of that goal, and its speed of 37 miles per hour might be lower than the other drones in Ukraine's arsenal. However, its stealth qualities, jamming resistance, and ease of assembly and replacement make it ideal for high-profile missions, like the attack on important bases in Russian territory, and the use of these newer drones might soon be coming to other parts of the world. According to SpyPack's founder George Vecino, Ukraine's success in using the PPDS has prompted interest from other countries, including the United States. This raises an interesting question. As drones become more ubiquitous on the battlefield, there will naturally be efforts to make them less detectable to radar and harder to jam. The PPDS has both of these qualities thanks to its unusual materials. So is the PPDS a sign of things to come? Will future drones be made of alternative materials to make them miniature stealth aircraft, more difficult for radar to see and harder for steadily more sophisticated jammers to bring down? What do you think? Make sure to let us know in the comments, and make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more military analysis from military experts. Now go and check out why these miniature drones scare Russians to death, or click this other video instead.